We just got the new MagMod Beauty Dish. So in this tutorial, Kiara and I are gonna walk you through a simple 2-light setup, going for an editorial black and white inspired look, something that you might see out of, say, a Vogue or another editorial magazine. Let's get into it. Okay, so here we have the MagMod Beauty Dish. This is the first time that I've actually opened up as well, so we're gonna do this little unboxing, or rather, unzipping.
I see what you did there.
Okay, so included inside, oh, this is really cool. Check this out, gigantic magnetic grid. Don't have to worry about this breaking, getting chipped, none of that. Here is our beauty dish, which, true to form, MagMod has made it quite mobile. So I'm assuming this kind of pops out. There we go. That is so nice. Did you guys hear that? Oh, it even makes a sound when it goes back in. All right, so you pop it out, you have your beauty dish ready to go. We have a Bowens mount on the back side. Here we have the sock, so we're gonna use this for some softening and diffusion. And we have a carry case handle. Okay, let's get this thing set up. I'm loving the build quality. I love the way that this just compresses down. This is the first time that I feel like we can travel with a beauty dish. Like, we can stuff this into my luggage. I can put this basically anywhere, not worry that the grid is gonna get damaged, folded, or not worry that the dish is gonna get damaged in any way, dented, because it's all metal. So I'm loving this design. Let's get it set up. Got the beauty dish. I have the Pro Photo mount on the back. Kiara, why don't you throw them your at right now? You're pantomiming, are you miming it? It's gonna be on the screen in this spot. I have this on the Pro Photo B10 Plus. You can use any light you would like. This comes standard with a Bowens mount, and you can pair it with any combination. So take the principles from this and make it your own. I promise it's gonna work regardless of the lights that you're using. So with the modifier on, you'll notice that I have a couple different things set up. I have one light that's boomed way up with an umbrella up there. I'm gonna explain what that does in a second. We're also gonna add in a V-flat for a bit of fill. Right now though, I just want you to get a feel for what this beauty dish is gonna do, okay? So what we're gonna do is start with the light bare as I kind of explain what it's gonna do. We're gonna then add the grid, and then we're gonna add the sock so you can kind of get a feel for this light modifier. Stepping in a bit closer, you'll notice that I've actually placed the light just towards the right side, which means that for Kiara's pose, I'm gonna have her kind of angled towards the light a bit more. Honestly, you can place your main light wherever you'd like. I just thought it'd be a bit more interesting to not go like kind of directly off camera and instead do something a little bit different for this shoot. So we're gonna go from the right side, something a bit more dramatic, and I'm gonna bring Kiara's pose kind of into it. Right now, the beauty dish is angled mostly towards the face and also kind of covering a bit of the body, which you'll see in a second. One other thing that's worth mentioning is that Kiara and I kind of planned this out so the outfit kind of matches the look, right? She's wearing leggings, she got heels on, she has this crop top blazer. Is that from the Kiara Zaya store? Oh, it sure is. And then some jewelry to kind of match as well and give us a little bit of detail and flair with it. So with that, let's go ahead and take a shot just with the light in that one position. We're gonna only use that main light for right now. I'm gonna shoot this wide so you guys can see exactly what's happening with the background right there as well. And we're just using that one single light and modifier. Beautiful. Okay, so looking at the black and white image here, what you'll see is that obviously the beauty dish is gonna give the light an entirely spherical shape. And we can see that in the way that it's hitting the ground, the background, everything. One other characteristic that I love about beauty dishes is that they are quite a bit more specular, okay? Specular, again, thinking of light quality, you have diffused versus specular. Specular means that it's a more contrasty light. So you're gonna get more direct light to your subject, which also means some of that light's gonna come back towards the camera and create reflections. But what this does is it creates a more contrasty look, and it really, I don't know, it kind of beautifully defines the beauty dish versus, say, the softbox. And we'll have to do that comparison in a separate video. But for right now, we have that. We've taken the shot of just the beauty dish with it completely open, right? Now let's go ahead and we're gonna add the grid. What this is gonna do is prevent all that light from spilling onto the background. So we're gonna go ahead and attach the grid, which uses this lovely magnetic system as well. Doesn't it sound good?
Sounds good to me.
So with that, we're gonna have a lot more light control. And if you were to ask me, like, what are the main differences between a beauty dish and, say, a softbox? Obviously, we have the shape itself. It's gonna create a little bit of a different catch light, a square versus a circular catch light. The main difference for me is that there's more light control. Not only is it circular in its shape, but as you're gonna see right now, that grid is very tight and it's going to prevent all that light from spilling anywhere else. So when you look at this, look at how it just funnels that light right towards our subject, okay? Now, is there a little bit of light fall off in this process? Yes. Anytime you use a grid, you are gonna lose a little bit of light, right? So we lost maybe a stop or so of brightness, so I might just brighten up by, say, half a stop to kind of compensate. Let's go back to that same pose, Kiara, that's great. And let's take that shot again. And now we get the face to roughly the same brightness as we were before. But look at the difference in terms of light control with just the open beauty versus that grid. Because the grid over the beauty dish has a very tight fit and those small notches, you get better light control than, say, a softbox with that larger egg crate style grid that goes over those. So I love the beauty dish from this standpoint. It's more contrasty, it's a very controlled light, it's awesome. Now, the last step, let's go ahead and put the sock over the grid. You can do this a couple different ways. I generally like to go grid and then go sock versus sock and then grid. It creates a slightly different look with either one, but I love using the beauty dish with the sock over the grid to give me one layer of diffusion.
It's all about diffusion.
And you'll see what happens is I'm gonna lose a bit more light as well, but now those edges around kind of like the highlight to shadow transitions, they're gonna get much softer. So let's take a shot right now just to see how much light we've lost. So you can see, I would guess that we've lost maybe 2 stops of light in that process, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and just brighten this up. I'm gonna guesstimate it's 2 stops. Let's go up 2. Kiara looking right here again, and let's take another shot. And that was actually a really good guess. So we've got those 2 stops back now, and you can see, now we can compare each of those and see just how dramatic of a difference it is. So combine the grid and that sock, we get beautiful light control, and then we also get that nice diffusion in kind of quality, where we're kind of balancing. It's almost like this mixture between a more specular controlled light source and something that's a bit more diffused. When I use a beauty dish, this is typically what I'm going with. I like a bit of diffusion there, although there is no right and wrong, just make the light quality match the subject and the story that you're telling, okay? So I dig this. Now let's go ahead and finish this out. Okay, so you got your main light set up. Now, oftentimes, what we tend to do as photographers is we set up this one light in the studio and we kind of call it a day, right? The issue with this is when you look at this image, right, with just the one light, it does look nice, but the shadows are not only too dark, meaning like I've lost a lot of detail in those shadows, there's also not a lot of depth and dimension to it, namely again, because the shadows are too dark. So when you go into the studio, what I would recommend first is before you set up the main light, I mean, you could set them up in whatever order you want, right? But what I like to do first is I like to actually turn off the main light, okay? And I like to actually get my fill light set up first and powered up. So let's do that right now. Right here, boomed up on the C-stand is my fill light. So the first thing that I like to do is set up this general fill in a scene. And if you think about it, when we're doing this in a studio, what we're really doing is kind of mirroring when we shoot outdoors, there's already a fill light that's generally set up for you. It's the sun, right? There's already a light source in the sky. We want to do the same thing in a studio, set up a basic light source to give the scene some shadows and some depth to it. So right here, I've placed onto a C-stand a Profoto A1. Again, use any light you'd like. This is just a smaller flash. I have it firing into an umbrella, okay? Again, nothing crazy here. If I had a white ceiling, you wouldn't even need this. You just bounce off the ceiling, right? But I don't have a white ceiling, so I'm using an umbrella just to bounce light down. What I'm doing with this is just filling the room with a little bit of fill light so that my shadows aren't completely blacked out. Let me quickly show you what I like to do. So I'm gonna take just a shot without any light for context to what we would get if no flashes were firing, okay? We're at 1/200, f4, ISO 200, and we get this. So it's mostly blacked out. And this means that if I just put a main light in there and I'm not adding any additional light, that's how dark my shadows are, or roughly close to that. There's gonna be some reflection, but you get the idea. And it's too dark, right? So what I like to do is I like to start by setting up the light or the power for my fill light first. And generally when I approach a scene, I just decide on that first. Now we placed it up high because I like my fill light to look natural, like kind of how, you know, the sun comes from above us, most light sources come from above us, so I place it above us just to add a general fill. So I'm gonna power it on, and let's bring it to like maybe 7 power, okay? So that's like roughly 1/8, 1/16 power-ish. Via can show you the actual number if you would like, but I'm gonna start there, 1/200 f4 and ISO 200. And this is a fairly subjective process, okay? So when I take this shot, now you see there's some room fill. This is what I'm going for. And you might take the first shot and go, hey, this is maybe a little bit too dark. So I might bring it up to, say, 1 stop and go to 8. That would be 1/4 power, right? So I'm gonna bring it up here. And that is right about where I want it. Now, what I don't want you all to do is I don't want your fill to be too powerful. See, if I dial this up to 10, this is full power with the same camera settings, and I take a shot, then now we basically have another main light. It's as bright as the main light would be. And so it's its own light in and of itself, and we don't want it to be that. I just want it to be a fill. So there's some subjectiveness in terms of how bright you want your fill to be. For me, in this particular scene, I kind of want it to be around 1/4 power, just enough detail in the shadows that it's not gonna black out. This is where I add in my main light. So now I'm gonna power that light back on, and I might need to make a little bit of an adjustment for power, but let's see where it was at. I think I'm gonna lower just 1 stop automatically and then get a little test here. 1 stop down from where it was is perfect. And so now with this, what we get is a much more kind of polished look to the scene where our shadows aren't too dark. We have a good balance between highlight and shadow. And we also have control between highlight and shadow. There's one other thing I'm gonna do as well. I might actually lower the power in this kind of like fill a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is make more of that light come from the other side by just adding in a V flap. I'm positioning it kind of a little bit on the back side of Kiara because I want it to sort of come from the back a little bit. So this is gonna catch some of that light from the Beauty Dish and kick it right back towards Kiara. And it might allow me to drop that fill light just a bit, so I kind of get a nice balance of both. Now I love that. If you kind of look in close to this, you can see a little bit of light just kind of catching the jawline and the back of the neck on Kiara from that reflector side. Now, our shadows are nice and dark, they're rich, but there is some detail in there, and this is what I love about this. We're gonna get to shooting, I have a couple tips there as well for you. But look, for me, the difference between refined and unrefined when it comes to lighting is this balance between highlights and shadows. And I can really tell when a photographer puts time and attention into that in their lighting setups. With your lighting all set up, what I want you to do is to actually play with it. Not just camera angles, positioning, zoom, but also your subject. So we're gonna take the chair out, we're gonna have her do some standing shots, we're gonna have her do some kind of sitting, squatting shots. We're gonna do all of that. With each one though, just make sure that you're adjusting the height of that main light to kind of compensate. So if she's standing, I'm gonna bring this light up so that way it's angled right down and towards the face still, just right there. I like this lower angle because shooting a little bit lower gives Kiara a sense of kind of power over the frame. She's kind of standing above us and it creates a lot of strength for the shot. I love that right there, hold that. Oh my goodness, that looks amazing. One little extra thing right here. I love this pose and what she's doing. I'm actually not going to have her aim her chin in the light this time. I'm gonna let her keep the chin right there because what you're gonna see is that light's gonna just create a dividing line, and with the strength of this pose, that split light is gonna look absolutely fantastic, or at least I'm guessing it will. I think it will. I'm gonna bring her down to kind of some squatting poses. We're gonna just make some adjustments to the light. Keep in mind that if the light's coming from too high above, we're gonna get dark eyes. So though we don't have to do any crazy adjustments to this setup right now, because normally I would just lower the light. We would need to get a lower stand to be able to do this. I'm just gonna adjust the face positioning for these, but just keep that in mind. You don't want it coming too high top down, otherwise you'll get dark eyes. I love that. It looks so good. Is it giving? It's giving, isn't it? That's it. That's a new word. Giving.
It's giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Does it have Riz?
Riz? What's that?
Come on, man. Charisma. Ooh. Is it like mid?
Yeah, you can stop now.
It is a wrap. I am honestly impressed with this guy. So I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. We're gonna link up all the gear that we used in the description of this video so you guys can check that out. Be sure to check out the new MagMod Beauty Dish. I love this thing. It's portable, easy to set up, it's durable. I don't have to worry about this thing breaking. Anyway, enough about that. I'll just continue. Also, huge thank you to Kiara. Make sure you guys give her a follow if you'd like. And I'd love to see you all showing up in the comments. Let me know if you guys have questions, have thoughts. I read every single comment. I do my best to reply as well, but I get tons of my ideas on future videos from you all. So let me know what you'd like to see next so I can also keep my job. All right, thanks guys. Peace.